Hello and welcome to another live stream. Windsurfing live stream. I'm on Maui and I want to know, did you sail this week? If you did, how was it? And where did you sail? What size? I sailed. I've been sailing. Hey, Jeff. Maui has been windy, been good, been really windy, actually. It's way windier than it normally is. I've been sailing on a 4.5, maxed out on a 4.5 some of these days. I posted a little clip with some footage on my Instagram from a super windy day earlier this week. And yeah, yesterday was really up and down. So there were moments that were really windy and moments that were light. It's kind of stormy weather, which is often the case with Maui. When those strong winds are forecasted, it means that there are storms about. So it's generally more on the stormy side when it's like that. But some fun sailing, and I've been happy to get in the water. Hey, Owen. Hope you feel better. Ragnar, good to see you. Thomas. Robert, sailing 4757 at Kanaha all week. There must have been some really windy days, Robert, at Kanaha. Where maybe you could have gone tiny sails. Hey, Jorg. Hans. Nice. Great to hear about your tack progress. Speaking of tacks, we're going to do the tacking masterclass here. I'll post the link to it. All right, let's see if that works. So that should show up in both the Facebook and the YouTube chat. I've never posted a link before into the chat, so you guys have to let me know if it works. Basically, what the tack course is a masterclass deep dive into the shortboard tack, the fast tack. And so who is it for? It's for anyone that wants to improve their tacks. If you can already do tacks 10 out of 10, the course is probably not for you. If you've never done a tack, even on a longboard, the course is also probably not for you. If you're somewhere in the middle, you can do a tack on a 200-liter board, but you fall sometimes or all the time on a shortboard, then the course is for you. And the structure of the course is 3 workshops, live workshops. We're going to do 2 that are sort of back to back, where I talk about different technique about tacking. So I've got 10 secrets to the tack that I'm going to share. And the way that I like to coach the tack is less about a sequence, because I think the brain doesn't work that way. So instead of thinking, all right, we're going to tack step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 10 key aspects to the tack that can help you to tack better. And that's what we go through in the workshops. And so the workshops are going to be 2 to 3 hours each. And they start off with a lecture from me talking about some of these aspects, these secrets of the tack. And then we'll have questions, footage review, and it will all be through Zoom. So we'll have some one-on-one. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to, but you are very welcome to show your face and to talk, and we can have some conversation with the group. It's a different kind of coaching. We did a board setup coaching like this a few months ago, but I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of potential. The link I just posted, I can post it again. The link to sign up. So in this link, there's more information, how you sign up, all of that good stuff. I'm going to post it on all my channels as well. But of course, you guys are going to be the first to find out about it because you're here. Max is saying that he rigged his sails wrong all week, ruined the sessions. Tell us more, Max. What do you mean? I want to hear a little bit more about that. I want to hear what went wrong. Facebook user on the Baltic Sea and then also in Spain. That sounds nice. Dennis, good evening, good morning, Dennis. 4-7 session with some good turns. What board are you sailing, Dennis? Did we get the full lowdown on that board that you were modifying? So Dennis had an old single fin Angulo, two of them, in fact. That's his favorite board, and he decided one of them to change into a thruster. And I want to hear how that's going, how it feels, how that process is getting used to it. Thomas had a nice little session. Jorg tried the Ezzy K4 fins. I love those fins. Evening Steen and Mario, Bart. Yeah, Dennis, I wanna hear how it goes. That's an exciting story. I like that. I like the story of your board and the conversion. Pretty cool, fun story. So, what else do I have to talk about before we jump into the Facebook group? Like I said, I've been sailing. It's been windy on Maui, really windy on Maui. Small sails compared to normal. Bart, nice. Good to hear that you've been getting in the water. So Max earlier said that he had some ruined sessions because of wrong rigging, which makes sense. Rigging is so important. How you set up your gear is so important. So he rushed the wrong extension settings, 2 holes too low on his simmer sails, and just didn't work when the downhaul was wrong. Yeah, Max, I feel for you. Rigging, tuning, gear, super important. All right, I don't think I have any more admin stuff to go over at the moment. So let's just jump into the Facebook group. You guys know the drill by now. If you've got questions, interrupt me, post it in the chat. I'm going to get the Facebook group loaded up here. There we are. We've got the Facebook group. Let's refresh this thing. Make sure it's up to date, as recent as can be. Got some activity here. All right, let's go through the group. Yeah, there's you guys are talking about extensions, and sometimes you have the wrong extension setting, and that messes things up. The Noir stick, which is a Danish invention for downhaul, makes it so you never need to set your extension, which is pretty cool. I don't use one, but I know some of the people in the group do, and that's pretty cool. Oh, that's Caro that's now in Spain. Caro, if you want, you don't have to. But if you want, you can give StreamYard permission to see your profile, and then I can see your name pop up in the chat. All right, so we talked about last week how you wear your harness, and I posted a little video showing how loose I wear my harness. People were surprised, and we had a lot of feedback, a lot of conversation about how to wear harnesses, and I love this conversation. And what I love about it is not to get people to wear looser harnesses. I don't really care if you wear your harness loose or not, but what I think is really important is experimenting, trying different things, always being curious, inquisitive, and testing with your gear. And that goes for how you're wearing your harness, how you're setting up your fins, how you're setting up your base plate on your board. All of that stuff you want to be playing around. Hey, Samuel. And I love seeing the responses of what people like, and also seeing, which is what we've seen now in the last few days, the result of people testing different ways of wearing the harness, looser harnesses. So Philip has some great testing here. And, I think that there's also a spectrum, right? So maybe you don't want to go super loose if you've been wearing it tight for so long. Yeah, so interesting. A lot of people went with a looser harness, experimented with it, and liked it, which I wear a really loose harness and I like it. All right. Next up, we've got a question from Paul. This is a funny thread. So Paul asked about cleaning sales, and I love reading these comments. The comments are really varied. Some people are like, "Why the hell would you ever clean your sails?" And some people are like, "I clean my sail after every single session. I take it home, rig it again, wash it, rig it again the next day to make sure it's dry, and it keeps the sails perfect." Which I just love the variety of answers here. It's cool. So let's talk about washing sail. So I gave a long comment somewhere here, somewhere in this thread. But basically, why do you want to wash the sail? Um, if it gets really dirty, you might want to wash it. Or as some people say, if you take good care of your sails, then they will last longer and look new longer, be more see-through. So what damages sails? Sunlight is the number one killer of plastic. So monofilm, so like just plain monofilm, um, it has about 300 hours of UV exposure, UV life, before it gets brittle and starts to crack. So when you have two layers of monofilm, like you have with X-ply or these other laminated materials, you basically double that because you've got 300 hours per side. So keep your sails out of the sun. So whatever you're doing, you don't want to dry your sails in the sun or leave them to bake. Hey, Greg, I would love to hear more about your trip to Fuerte. That sounds like a cool post in the Facebook group as well, if you're up for it, posting about what the trip was like in terms of, the logistics of it for people, and then also what the sailing was like and what your personal journey was like. I'm sure that people would love to hear that. So anyway, back to the topic. So what else hurts sails? Also, when you are rigging and you're wrinkling the sail, that's also hurting it. So if you have like a clear piece of plastic, like I don't know, like a drinking straw or something, and you like crunch it up in your hands, um, then it will turn white, right? It will turn opaque. It will get creases in it. It will not be its same shape as before. So it's the same with a windsurfing sail. So you don't want it flapping in the wind. You don't want to scrunch it up while you're putting in the mast. Ideally, you want it lying flat, put in the mast, get it downhauled, and make sure that it's not flapping around. It's not getting creased and wrinkled. Okay, what next? Sails get cloudy from the micro abrasions, the little scratches in the film. That can come from sand, salt crystals, dirt, dust. So you want to be careful whenever you're wiping the sail that you're not sanding it and making it cloudy. This is a real big one. And you see this in places like Pozo, where you have really strong onshore wind, and the sails get a layer of salt if they're left on the beach, even for just 5 minutes. On a windy day in Pozo, the sail will get a layer of salt crystals, and then maybe you go to roll up the sail, and those salt crystals scratch the film, and the sails look 2 years older than they would otherwise. And so what I do in that situation normally is I'll dip my sail back in the salt water to dissolve the salt crystals, and then I'll roll it up with just the wet seawater. What I have seen work quite well for people is coming after they come in from the session. So while the sail is still wet with salt water, rinsing the sail with fresh water just to get that salt water off. And that seems like a pretty good way to keep the sails looking new and fresh and the film looking clear. But you want to make sure that you're rigging on a surface that's not abrasive to the film, right? Like sometimes rigging on rough asphalt can be really bad for the sails, or rigging on sand. So if you can rig on grass or some kind of solid cement, concrete, that's probably better for the sails and the longevity of the sails. So Hans is asking about PVC windows, that they last. He heard that they last longer. PVC windows last forever, basically, in the sails, and you can make them clear forever. So we use PVC windows in the Ezzy sails for a long time, and then we found that the PVC window had two purposes. One, it was used, the stretch was functional, and then also for the durability. And with the way that we were shaping the sails, we evolved beyond needing that stretch to get the feel that we wanted. And then I would see these sails, these 20-year-old sails from around the world that were, 20-year-old sails baked in the sun, falling apart, but the PVC window was still perfect. And that's cool that the window lasts so long, but the sail is toast. And a sail is only as weak or only as strong as its weakest link, its weakest element. And so I felt like the PVC windows were overkill for what we needed. So that's one of the reasons why we moved away from the PVC, because we felt like we could make the sails a lot lighter, better performance, and we really lightened up the sails. Ezzy sails had a reputation for being on the heavier side for years, and now they're really one of the lightest sails on the market. And moving away from the PVC is one of the reasons that makes that possible. But also, PVC windows are not really repairable. You can repair them, but the sail will be forever changed because the way that the sail is made when it has the PVC window, it's made with film. Then the PVC is sewn in, and then the film is cut out. And the PVC is so stretchy that then if you're trying to work and repair a sail that has a rip going into the window, yeah, you can repair it, but the sail's never going to feel the same again. Whereas theoretically, having a film window is repairable. So that's why we switched on the sails that I work on designing. All right, we got a few questions from chat. First up, hello, Rasmus and Philip. Good to see you here, Philip. I loved your comment about your harness and testing it. It's so cool. That's exactly what I love to see is testing and exploring. It's not about this is right, this is wrong. I'm saying you should wear a loose harness and that's what the cool kids do. Go do it. I'm saying test it, try a loose harness. Maybe you hate it, maybe you don't hate it. Try it, your boom hire. Get used to playing with your equipment. And you did just that, Philip. I love to see it. Hardcore conditions up in Denmark with 3-4 weather. Wow. Yeah, Denmark can be hardcore. PVC contracts and stiffens in cold conditions, Philip says. Yep, that's also true. All right, Samuel asks, and Rasmus, I see you got a question. I'm just going to quickly answer Samuel's first. So Samuel says, is there a cure for sails that become too cloudy? Depends. So the cloudiness, if it's caused by lots of little scratches in the film, there is no cure because the sail is just scratched. But if the cloudiness is from dried salt or dirt, which it often can be, then if you carefully clean it, it should get clearer. Rasmus asks, I can pull up Rasmus's question on the screen. So Rasmus says, I have a question about sail care. How to reduce insignia cloth when it comes off of X-ply because of wrinkles or mechanical wear at edges? This is an interesting question, and it leads me to another point that I want to make that's not directly related, but this question makes me think of it, and I left it out of my answer in this thread. So I'm going to get to that in a second. So how to re-glue the insignia cloth when it comes off of X-ply because of wrinkles or mechanical wear at the edges. That's a good question. And to be honest, I'm not really sure. That's something, let me check with my dad. My dad is a sail designer for over 40 years, and I'm sure he'll have an answer to that because I think you want to be careful with what kind of glue or adhesive you're using because you don't want to make it brittle. So that's a good question. Let me follow up on it. But what this question made me think of, and is that sometimes when I'm cleaning my sails to do a little repair, so sometimes I get a little rip, and it's not a rip that needs to be sewn. I can put some tape on it or a sticker or something, and I want to make sure that tape or the sticker sticks really well. So what I'll do is I'll rinse the sail with fresh water, kind of dry it with a towel, and then clean it with rubbing alcohol. So that's isopropyl alcohol, like 70% isopropyl alcohol, and spray some of that, and then use a paper towel or another kind of soft towel to clean the area of the sail. And that helps tape or stickers stick to the material when you're doing a little repair. It's interesting what you guys are saying in the chat. Mario is saying that he uses a cut potato to get rid of cloudiness in the window, or the screen detergent for cars. Super interesting. I've never heard of either of these options. I would love to see it being done. Mario or someone else, if you want to experiment, that sounds super interesting. And I can also experiment. I can go check here. I've got some old sails. I don't know how cloudy they are, but I can check and see if I can make them clear by rubbing them somehow or some way with potatoes or detergent. Super interesting. Thank you, Mario. Jeff says, people were generally talking about sail care. Has anyone tried Rain-X or some other hydrophobic coating on the main window panel to improve visibility? It's interesting you say that, Jeff. Yesterday or 2 days ago, when Ricardo was launching at Hokipa, we were parked next to each other, and I was talking to him, and he pulled out a spray bottle of Rain-X and started putting on his sail. And I was like, well, does that work? And he was like, I don't know. I've never done it before, but I got this for my Insta360 camera because I have problems with drops of water on the lens, which I also have. And he thought, well, I might as well try it on my sail. It's a brand new sail. So I'm going to text Ricardo right now. Here, I got my phone. I'm going to text Ricardo to say, how did the Rain-X work? And let's see, I'll let you know if he answers. Does the potato suck up the salt crystals? Philip asked. Good question. I have no idea. Why are potatoes used for cleaning? I've never heard that before, ever. Is something in the starch of the potato? It's cool. I love that kind of stuff. It's like a little trick. Another one, which now is harder to do. This is not about sail care, but it's one of these little tricks, like using a potato to clean to help get into your wetsuit. If you use those really thin plastic shopping bags, which is better for the environment, you don't really find those anymore. But every gas station, every store used to give you these really thin little plastic bags when you bought something, which those might not even exist anymore. And maybe there's some other option. But basically, if you put one of those on your foot, kind of like a sock, it makes it super easy to slide into your wetsuit. Coming from Hawaii and not used to wearing wetsuits, I needed tips like that to help get me accustomed to getting in and out of my wetsuit quickly and easily in Europe. Now I'm kind of used to it. I'm sure you guys are as well. But sometimes you want a little help getting your wetsuit, and having that thin plastic bag makes a difference. And it makes it no longer a single-use plastic, because you can use one bag for years to help get you into the wetsuit. So it's a good way to recycle those otherwise single-use bags. Okay. So really interesting thread here. I love this about the potato. I want to see a video of it. I'll try. I'll try that. I don't know if I have a cloudy enough sail. Does the type of potato matter? Yeah, I'll try that as well. And I want to see you guys try that. All right. This is from last week. Richie was talking about the back pain that he experiences. And we have a few more comments from people with similar issues going on. Like I said, I really recommend seeing a physio. And hopefully that helps. Mario saying that potato absorbs the salt. Super interesting. All right, Kevin is saying, has anyone been to Mauritius? Has anyone wave sailed there? Many people have wave sailed Mauritius. Mauritius has great wave sailing. I've never been, though. Did you rent gear? If so, how was it? I've heard it's beautiful. So I have lots of friends who go to Mauritius and sail there because it's an amazing spot, and from Europe, it's easier to get to than Hawaii. But I've never been myself, so I don't have any firsthand experience to give you. Tom Hartman, so Chris links Tom Hartman. So Tom Hartman lives in Mauritius. He runs, I think, a hotel and a center there. Tom Hartman is a man of many hats. He also runs or used to run the EFPT. Now that's taken over by Adam Sims. He runs the Winging World Tour. At one point, he was running the Kitesurfing World Tour. He's a Windsurfing World Tour judge. Tom Hartman, man of many hats, but Mauritius is one of those hats that he wears. So there's a bit of advice from other people here. So they're saying Lamorne, you can book gear there. There are 2 wave spots. Adrian is saying he didn't like it, which is interesting. Adrian, if you're in the chat, where are some places that you do like to travel to? Yeah, so it sounds like there's a few different options. There's an Ion Club. Yeah, so it sounds like there's some options for renting gear. I want to hear more about this. I want to hear a follow-up. So Kevin, if you go or someone else goes, this is really interesting. And in general about travel, and Greg, I'd love to hear about your experience with Fuerte. Maybe we can create a document, kind of a living document. I'm going to write this down. Create a living document about travel destinations and with tips. So tips, know-how, like what you need to know, how to do it, et cetera, contacts. So let's do that. I'm gonna do that. But I need you guys to fill in the information. So I'll create the Google Doc, and then I'll make it open to anyone. It'll just be fully open source, and I'll put it in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, then I'll post the link as well next week on the live stream. And it will be a living document that we can use and create sort of a global travel guide for windsurfing, which I like that idea. Hey, Dana. So Dana here, let me throw what Dana says up on the screen. It's the Pistol River report. Was quiet most of the week, then kicked back in Thursday with some light wind that I missed. Oops. He did make it for Friday's late sesh at the Cape, and then yesterday delivered with smooth open face riding at the jetty. Nice. Overhead 5.0s. Pistol River is such fun sailing. Oregon Coast is such fun sailing. I can't wait to go back to the Oregon Coast. Cool, Dana. Thanks for checking in. All right, so I'm going to make that living document. Okay, if anyone missed last week's live stream, at the very end of it, I went over my competition watch. So I had a lot of questions over the last month about the watch that I use for competition. I use this Decathlon watch, which is really cheap, but it's the best, most functional watch that I've found for windsurfing competitions. And at the end of last week's live stream, so you got to find last week's live stream, and it's like the last 5 minutes, I give a complete overview of that watch. So if that's something you're interested and you missed last week's live stream, go back and watch it. That would be April 3rd Maui time. So I guess in the description, it would say April 3rd. All right, let's move on. So I really like this thread. This is a question about how you deal with currents. This is from a few weeks ago, but we still have answers, people giving answers, bigger boards to deal with strong currents, etc. So love this stuff. All right, another older thread that has been revived. We've got a little video from Levi. So here, I'll pull up this video and see what Levi says, and then just some more answers about what size lines people are using. So this is interesting. We talked about this video already. Hans is saying that he made 90% of his tacks in front of a wave to claim it. Nice. Those are good numbers. 9 out of 10 is good. And he got snaked on one of the waves. Oh no. he's going boom to boom, grabbing the mast didn't make a big difference for him. That's fine. The way that I teach these and these like tacking technique is that we have this toolbox of techniques for the tack, and you need to pull out of that toolbox what you need to make it work for you. And grabbing the mast might be the tool that makes you go from 3 out of 10 to 9 out of 10, but it also might not be. You might be fine going boom to boom, and if that's the case, keep going boom to boom. All right, Ricardo just answered me. So remember, it was about the Rain-X on the screen, and he was saying it did not work. So the Rain-X didn't work, he's saying. So he sprayed the Rain-X on a brand new sail, and he says he thinks that the salt water doesn't work with the Rain-X, and so he felt like it didn't have a good effect on the window of his sail. All right, next up, we've got a question from Max. So I'm probably going to need a new board. So he's going to get secondhand board, but new to him. Does anyone have any thoughts on weight to volume ratio? He's currently 95 kilos and thinking of 102 or 104 liters. That sounds like the right volume. All right, Eric, thank you for answering the Mauritius post. And I'm gonna create that live document. I've got that in my notes. Oh, one last thing about tacks before we get into Max's board is just to plug my tack course again. I'm doing a tacking masterclass that starts not this coming week, but the week after that. There are 2 days close to each other where we're doing workshops. And the way the workshop works is all on Zoom. I do a lecture, talk about tacks, my secrets to the tack. So basically, there's a portion on preparation, mindset, and sort of the setup for tacks, which is actually really important. And then 10 different secrets for fast tacking. And so the first 2 days, they're a lecture where I talk about the mindset and the secrets, followed by questions and discussion. So it's all over Zoom so that we can have a conversation. You guys can have a conversation with each other. I can answer questions in real time. We can talk about it. And we can do live footage review together as well. So anyway, those are the first 2 workshops. And then we have a 10-day break. And we have another workshop. And the idea of that break is that you have time to get on the water, try to implement some of the secrets, try and work on your tacks. And the nice thing about the tack is you really don't need much wind. So you can get out there if it's 7, 8 knots of wind, 9 knots of wind, and do some tack practice. And it's not required, but if you can get some footage, that's even better. And we can go over the footage on the final Zoom lecture that's on May 2nd. The dates are all in the description here. I'm going to put the link in the chat again. So this is the sign up form for that tacking masterclass, which has 3 live workshops, and there's a WhatsApp group as well for everyone to help support each other during the course, which will last for 4 weeks. And yeah, as we talk about wave boards, it's specifically about tacking for wave sailing and for wave boards. Dana is saying that there's a plastic formulation for Rain-X, but the original formula is said to be destructive to plastics. I did not know that. I use it on glass a lot, but it needs reapplication often in the salt environment. Interesting. I did not know it. So be careful if you're putting Rain-X on your sail. All right, let's keep going. So Max is looking for a board. If you're getting a used board, my big recommendation, if possible, and I know it's not always possible, is to try it. Try it before you buy it. Boards are so particular. If you can jump on it, get a session, see if you like it or not, goes a long way. So try it before you buy it. I think looking at this size range, so somewhere between 100 and 105 liters is good for you, Max. And I think there's a lot of boards like that. that exist. And I wish you really good luck for finding one. I think that everyone has their own needs about, how fast they want the board to go versus how turning they want it to be. And I really recommend giving these boards a test sail if you can. All right, Owen posted this turn from Kai Lenny. Nice wallet drop cutback on a windsurfer. I love doing these one-handed turns. I do these myself with the backhand off. Super fun to do. Let's see if we can get this to play. Yeah. This is one of the exercises that I really recommend doing. So Philip, if you're still in the chat, this is one of the exercises that I was working on with Philip, and Philip did some really cool one-hand turns as well. But what's interesting, and I wonder if Philip, if you're still in the chat, type a little bit about your first experience trying to do these kind of one-hand turns. And what's interesting is even though they look quite easy, it's so hard to do, even just taking your hand off at the right time. So I talked with Kai actually on the beach about the board. And so he said it's not Keith's board. He said that it is, well, maybe this is. I was talking with him about his boards, and he was saying that his boards are somewhere between Levi's and Keith's. So they're faster, less rockered boards than what Keith is riding, but maybe a little bit more rocker than what Levi is riding. But anyway, this is a really good exercise. This is something I recommend trying to do, which is just taking your backhand off as you're going into your cutback. You don't have to lay it down at first, but you'll be surprised at how difficult it is. And what skills you're working on when you're doing this is making sure that you're really using your body and your board rather than the sail to carry your energy through the top turn. So it's a great exercise. It really forces you to focus on your board and your rail game. One trick to make these easier, or not necessarily to make them easier, just to help do them, is to really think about turning your upper body back towards the wave. And you can see Kai doing a little bit here where his shoulders are really facing the wave face. They're not turning back around in the direction of his turn. And you can even exaggerate that even more. Like you can look back here at the tail of your board and really turn your shoulders back. You see surfers do this as well sometimes. And it makes it a lot easier to then do this turn, stay engaged on the rail in the right way. Yeah, I remember that, Philip. All right, let's watch this video from Levi that was posted. So Max is saying that he agrees on trying before buying, but most boards are 300 miles away. Yeah, that's tough. Okay, so let's watch this little video from Levi.
Levi, you were saying then you ride your harness a lot lower than most people, certainly what I do. I'm just sort of curious, what's the benefits? Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so I've always liked to ride my harness lower, but not only wants to have the ribs being smashed by the waist harness. I think it's always been an annoying factor.
So I agree with that. My first impression is talking very slowly. I want to see if I can play it a little bit faster. Second impression is I totally agree about the harness getting smashed up into the rigs. So Greg, yes, when you're doing the one-handed cutbacks with the backhand off, let me pull that up with Kailani again. You want to square your shoulders or look back. So you can start looking back kind of this point, and you're looking back at the wave and turning the shoulders back at the wave rather than back at the beach. And I don't know what that is doing, but it works. And you see surfers do the same thing. And I probably have some videos of myself doing that. You know, I do a lot of these one-handed cutbacks myself. I wonder if I can find one to show. Yeah, let me see. I'm pretty sure I do have something. So let's play the video from Levi. I sped it up a little bit, and I'll see if I can find one.
So, but I was riding 28-inch harness line for quite a while, and I feel like it was just a battle that I couldn't win. You're constantly pushing it down. Harness line, pull the harness back up. So actually, Cal Lee and Coutinho, I always saw them kind of with super long harness lines, and I'm like, you know, they must have like huge long arms. What's going on? So I worked my way up, just kind of sample it, and I tried like 32, 34, and I'm like, this is crazy, and I just put it aside. I'm like, it's too long. And then sometimes people have a tendency to try really long harness lines, and then it's like it's too extreme, and then they go back to the short harness line. So I suggest people, if you want to try this new system, is to work your way up in increments. Like try it with a 28, and then try a 30. And the whole point of this, I wish someone would have told me this, is so you can wear your harness more loose, and you can wear it way down on your hips instead of having it, push, digging in on your ribs. Because it's not that we like to have long arms and the sail, like it's like the harness can set lower, and you have longer harness lines, so it doesn't pull the harness up. Because if the harness lines are short, it's constantly pulling the harness.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. So this is a good explanation from Levi about wearing a loose harness, why you want to do it, because you want it low on your hips. What you need to do when you make your harness lower is probably extend your harness line so then it's not pulling you up so much, and it's just more comfortable. It's not digging into your ribs.
Different kind of philosophy. It's basically riding a looser harness, like not going crazy on that, but just going a little bit on this and keeping everything kind of like nice and tucked, but not like wrenched down. So it kind of just nicely sets on your hips. And then the harness lines, like a 32 can feel like a 28 if your harness is lower. So you still have a nice control over the sail. It's going to change a little bit. Like the sail's going to ride a little bit more upright. But after you go this way, I feel like it's hard to go back to like the shorter harness lines.
Which DK harness do you mostly use?
I mean, there's so many. I like the T9 that I just find it's kind of fits all my needs and it's comfortable.
And what do you reckon? Are you on 30s or 32-inch?
I ride Tacking's 32s max. They don't make anything bigger than 32.
Yeah.
So I've made my way up to 32.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll go 34. I mean, Brazilio and those guys are riding 34. I rode 34 the other day, and it was like it's another kind of like wow, much different. But it's a required taste.
Yeah.
It's a required. But I suggest if people are tired of having their ribs smashed in by the waist harness, like it'd be worth the effort of trying this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, interesting video from Levi, and yeah, I agree. I think there's some good points there. Yes. Oh, and the banner picture of the group is a one-handed cutback, though a little bit of a different one, a different style of one, where I'm getting a little bit of that lean back towards the wave, but I'm trying to get more projection off the lip than like carving in the lip. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I've got a ton. I mean, let me see. I mean, for sure there's some on my Instagram. I'm not logged in. Oh, maybe I can just do this. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. Here, let me let's see. This probably works. So yeah, let's see. Just to show you some different variations on that, because I think it can be helpful. It's like here's one which didn't actually feel that good. I think it looks better than it felt. This one felt kind of weird because I lost the fins and I slid out. But you can see here, I can pause this. You can see here, I'm coming into the turn, and then I'm looking back and turning my shoulders. See there, that there's that moment where I'm doing that and putting it back towards the wave. Can you see that? And that helps engage the turn. I don't like that little slide there, but you can see here's another one, which again is a little bit of a different kind of turn, but similar. I like to put the hand behind the back rather than in the water. Well, in the water feels good too, but I kind of like that aesthetic of throwing the hand behind the back. All right, where do we have more? I think, is that one? No, that's not one. This is one. So this one I'm a bit less looking towards the wave. So there's, you know, a spectrum of how much you want to do it, but there still is a little bit. And what's important is really not putting your shoulders into the turn. There's one I have from Pozo, which I don't know if I can find it. Here's another example. So you can see this is from Cape Town, so Portac. But you can see again, like just how much I'm putting these shoulders to look back at the wave, right? Like this is actually a pretty good picture. And that really helps to keep the rail engaged. I remember this cutback. This was a nice carve on this turn. And it really helped turning. So the front hand off, I like doing turns with the front hand off. And I think that that's also really interesting. I think that doing turns with the back hand off is well, I don't want to say better or worse, but doing turns with the back hand off is a really effective exercise for cutbacks and for windsurfing. Whereas with the front hand off, because then you still have the power of the sail, it's not as black and white, right? Like I think it's a little bit easier to do a cutback with the front hand off than with the back hand off. And then doing a good cutback either way they're both hard, obviously. So like what Philip says here, I think is really, really relevant. Interesting. I think this is Caro saying that it's harder to put the harness lower because of the figure that women have. That's interesting. Interesting. PJZ is saying that, quote, I don't know why it works, but it works. It's a classic windsurfing adage. Funny, yes, but also I would say not just in windsurfing. You know, there was a little bit of time when I was in university and I was really interested in finance. Why was I interested in finance? I don't know why. Well, I think finance can be really interesting. And I had a little internship on the New York Mercantile Exchange where we were trading options and futures on commodities. And one of the things that was the adage there as well is that why doesn't matter, because actually in most cases you can't know why. It's almost impossible, or it is impossible to know why. And so you need to forget about why, and trying to put reason or rational or explanation to things is a fool's errand. And instead you just need to be looking at what is happening and get away from why, because why is full of dangerous pitfalls. And you know, there's a lot of philosophy as well in epistemology about sort of the reason that why doesn't really matter, and that it's more just about what and how. So there's a longer philosophical reasoning behind I don't know why, but it works, but more than just the classic windsurfing adage. Or you know, someone else who I really like reading is I mean, I don't agree with him on everything, but I think he's got a lot of really good thoughts, is Nassim Taleb, who wrote the most popular book he wrote is probably Black Swan or Fooled by Randomness. And, a lot of what he talks about is getting away from why as well. And that there is, why doesn't necessarily matter. And that there's like great examples. Like I can't remember which book it's from. I think it's the Black Swan, about a baseball coach who's trying to help the players to catch balls better, and comes up with a whole explanation about why it works and why it's a better way to catch balls. And it just doesn't work. And the tried and true heuristics of trying to angle the bat or angle the glove, I can't remember what the way it works, but angling the glove a certain way, there's like a heuristic that they use forever. It just works. And there's a reason for it, but reasons are often complicated and they can be unknowable. And so the reason can be a shackle. And so instead of trying to figure out the reasons, just focus on what works, and just accept that maybe you won't know why, but trusting that it does work. Now, the flip side of that is if you really can know why something works, that can then help you to accelerate your learning or to try something different, try something else. But anyway, enough of this discussion about epistemology. Do I sometimes do my cutbacks with my front hand off? Yes, sometimes I do. I'll try and find an example of that. What about the front hand off for doing round half cutbacks? Yeah, Bart, I agree about Anti-Fragile. I need to read Anti-Fragile again. I was blown away by Black Swan. That was the first Taleb book that I read. I had lunch with him, actually. I had lunch with him with Taleb years ago. This would have been over 10 years ago now, in New Jersey when I was going to university. One of the best courses that I took in college was like philosophy of risk, randomness, and uncertainty. And Taleb did a guest lecture for one of the lectures, and then there was a group of students who signed up to have lunch with him, and so I had lunch with him. He's a funny guy. He has a good sense of humor. I think some people don't see the sense of humor because he's got this kind of chip on the shoulder writing style, but he's quite funny. I like Taleb, and I think he has a good, like, I trust his, when it comes to statistics or statistical analysis, I often default to his point of view. Anyway, enough about Nassim Taleb. Let's find a cutback with the front hand off, if I've got one in here. I like doing aerials with the front hand off. I think there's a really nice aesthetic to that, and it kind of feels flowy. Let's see if I've got something with the front hand off, because with the front hand off, you can do some really get into some really interesting. Interesting. All right. So while I'm looking for that thing, we've got someone else on Facebook saying it makes no sense for girls to wear a loose harness. Tried it with a loose harness, but did not work. So I'm using a harness where I can loose the hook a bit. Interesting. Yeah, that's really good feedback, because obviously everyone has a different anatomy, and so if your waist is small, or your hips or your bust is bigger, then it's going to affect how you're wearing the harness, obviously. So really good. Thank you for that feedback. Here's a one-handed cutback, but coming out of the wave, which is not really what we're talking about. Here's another one-handed one from Pozo. I really like, or actually, is this Pozo? This might not be Pozo. But yeah, I like this. I like doing these in onshore conditions as well. I think you can get quite nice. Okay, here's a one-handed one where, again, so it allows you to kind of really open up the shoulders. So this is then the opposite exercise, right? So with the first, taking the backhand off exercise, it forces you to square your shoulders with the wave, really connect with the board. Whereas taking the front hand off, you can really open up. And so then you still have to really focus on getting that board engaged. Otherwise, you'll load up the sail and just slide and do an ugly top turn. So you have to really focus on getting those hips down. One thing that can just help your cutbacks is to tuck your chin put your chin down, and that helps because what you don't want to be doing is like chin up, hips forward. You want to be hips back, chin down, which pulls your weight down and helps you weight that heel side rail. All right, we want to find a video of so this is, I think, a taka. I love this move. Yeah, which is like kind of the continuation of a cutback, one-handed cutback. So here, these are a few different examples of one-handed cutbacks, but I'd like to find a video. I mean, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Boys is asking about sliding turns. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of sliding turns. It really depends. This is maybe a video all on its own about what kind of slides I like versus don't like, but most of the time I want to keep the rail engaged. So this is just, I don't know, I just clicked on this. This is from a few years ago, but I like turns where the rail is fully engaged through the turn. Oh, there's a one-handed one. Yeah, so here, I can go through that again. So like there are some sliding turns that I like. There's a lot that I don't like. Philip is asking about a seat harness for wave sailing. Yeah, some people do it. I don't know. I've never used a seat harness. So here's a one-handed kind of carving turn, where I'm just really trying to use my body and head to guide the turn. I end up in a little bit of an awkward position because I'm holding the sail up. Yeah, let's just watch that one more time and then move on. So there's a one-handed one with the front hand off. Yeah. I mean, there's a few more. I really like doing these ones where you're backdooring the section with the front hand off. They feel really nice. And you can kind of tweak your body out. Feels good. Yeah, what else? Is there something else in here that's interesting? This is from Cape Town from a long time ago. All right, questions from the chat. So PJZ is at Kanaha practicing today. Yeah, man. Let us know how it goes and post in the group as well. Do a post. Forwards and flockas, great moves to learn. Facebook user is saying, how much does the board influence the rail-to-rail sailing and the spray on the top turn, especially in spots like Kokipa? Board is huge. You know, boards make a world of difference, period. So the answer is huge. Here's a little video from Pozo from also years ago. Shove it Spock off the lip, but no one-handed cutbacks. All right, now we're getting like really old. Yeah, boards have a huge influence on floater, off the lip, back loop. All right, this is the last one we're going to watch. Then let's go back to the Facebook group. I don't even know what we're looking for at this point. That was a fun day at Misty Cliffs. Oh, that's it. Okay. Oh, here's another one with the backhand off. Again, this is a really good exercise. You can do it in onshore conditions, offshore conditions. And so here you can see, you can see that how my shoulders are really turned towards the wave, turned back towards the wave. So Gary is saying that the board is the reason he doesn't have spray at Hokipa. Spray is another one where I know that it's something that people pay attention to. I don't really. Spray is displacement of water, and spray can coincide with good turn, right? Because if you're going fast, you're displacing water. But you can also have good turns without spray. Spray is just the amount of water that's being displaced by the board. So it's sometimes correlated with a good carving turn, but not necessarily always. All right, let's get back to the group. We're a little sidetracked. Okay, this scrolled to the top again, so we got to scroll down again. All right, these booms, we talked about this last week, and they seem super cool. I've never sailed them. I use the Chinooks, and I'm happy with them, but they seem super cool. Here we got a question from Yurko. All right, we got Facebook user asking, do you have dates for the clinic this year? Yeah, I've been working on that, and I think I kind of do. So the one that I can fully announce, I've got my little calendar here, which I'm going to do a proper announcement, but I think that Denmark will be the 3rd of September to the 9th of September. So it'll be that week, the 3rd to the 9th of September. And then the other, I'm looking to do Tenerife and Portugal. And those dates, I think I have worked out, but there's a couple little things that I need to double check before I announce them officially. For the Tacking masterclass that's happening virtually, that is announced. I keep putting that in the chat if anyone wants to sign up. Again, you guys are the first people to see this and to have the opportunity to sign up. I'll post it around my other channels later. There is a limited number of seats. But you guys are here showing up, so you guys get the first shot at. All right, Yurko asks about how tight to put the boom on the mast. Never too strong to make damage to the mast. 2-hour session, it goes down a little due to the chops and jumping. I think you generally want to have the boom pretty tight on the mast. You don't want to obviously damage the mast, but I ride my boom pretty tight. Here, hold on. I just have to help my son a second. Hold on. You want to come say hi? Here, come sit on my lap and say hi.
No, Graham.
So, hey, look, we're on the internet. Say hi. All right, hold on. So hold on a second. Here. Go ahead. Okay, so Thomas is saying that Jan Serlu used a seat harness all the time. Yeah, some people use seat harnesses. All right, so about the boom, so we've got some interesting feedback from people in the comments, but generally I think you want to make it pretty tight. You don't want it loose. All right, Andres is saying, what to do when the sail touches the boom in the gust? I get this question a lot, and the real answer is it doesn't really matter. My sail touches the boom often. Other people's, the sails touch the boom. The trend for booms is to get narrower. Well, it depends. Some of them are super narrow. Some of them are not. And it doesn't really matter. There is a little effect to the sail. So when the sail is really spilling over the boom, it puts a little bit more twist in the sail, which then if you're overpowered, theoretically is good. It's theoretically more helpful. All right, we've got, we talked about this last week. Paul posted this clip. Interesting. Kevin posted this. So I like these clips. I see they're not getting much discussion. These clips are just about watching the spot. So maybe if we want more discussion going about clips that are just interesting windsurfing, maybe it's good to post a question when you post this kind of content. I like this kind of content, so I think this content belongs in the group, but I also would like to see more discussion about these posts. So maybe putting a question to it as well. As we saw in the post about Morgan's bottom turn, then there was a lot of discussion because there was a very clear question associated with it. So maybe if you're going to post these kind of videos, put a question, and that might lead to more discussion. All right. I think we're at the end of the group. So I'm going to sign off soon. The trees are moving. You can see the trees moving outside my window, which means that it's another windy day on Maui. I'm going to set up the Google document for the travel guide. I will post that in the group. Also, as I've said many, many times, the Tacking Masterclass is happening. It is taking place 3 live workshops on Zoom, and there's a WhatsApp group to support everyone who's in the course. You can sign up. I posted the link in the chat, and I will post the link on all my other channels. You guys get the first shot at signing up. Have a good day, and I will see you next week, Sunday. I hope you have a windy week. Bye-bye.